The stars above burned like cold fire as the human battleship Orion's spear drifted near the red clouds of the Varex Nebula. Inside, soldiers moved quietly, their faces hard with fear and duty. Among them was Captain Daniel Reeve, a man who had seen too much war, too much death, and now stood on the edge of another impossible mission. The mission was clear: infiltrate the alien capital on planet Zellera 9, the home world of the Varex Empire, and capture or eliminate their leader, the alien queen herself. The queen was known across galaxies. Her name was Alindra Varex, ruler of 1,000 worlds, feared for her mind and beauty. Many said she had eyes that could see your thoughts, a voice that could break armies, and a heart made of crystal and flame. No human had ever seen her and lived. But Daniel didn't believe in myths. He believed in survival. The shuttle doors opened, and silence filled the air. The small strike team entered the dark alien city under the shadow of night. Silver towers rose high like frozen lightning. The air shimmered with strange energy, alive, whispering. Daniel could feel it under his skin, like electricity trying to speak. "Stay close," he ordered, his voice low through the comms. "No one dies for glory tonight." They moved fast, using the alien ruins for cover. The Queen's palace was not far, a floating fortress above a crystal lake glowing with blue fire. From a distance, it looked almost peaceful. But Daniel knew peace was a lie. Halfway across the bridge, the team was spotted. Blue energy bolts screamed through the air. Daniel rolled behind a pillar and returned fire. One soldier fell. Then, another. Their screams echoed across the lake. "Fall back!" someone shouted, but Daniel didn't move. His eyes were locked on something, or someone, standing at the far end of the bridge. A tall figure in silver armor watched him. Her face was hidden by a mask of light, but her presence was different, calm, powerful. She raised her hand, and the air itself seemed to freeze. In that moment, Daniel felt something he couldn't explain. Not fear, not anger, something deeper, something that whispered inside him. "Human," a voice spoke in his mind, soft but sharp. "Why have you come to die in my world?" He couldn't answer. The soldiers were gone. The bridge was gone. Only the glowing lake and that voice remained. The world turned white. When Daniel opened his eyes again, he was lying in a strange room. Smooth silver walls, a glowing ceiling, no visible doors. His armor was gone. His weapon was gone. Only a simple mark burned on his hand, a glowing sigil in alien script. He sat up slowly. His head throbbed. "Where am I?" he whispered. "You are in my palace," said a voice behind him. He turned, and saw her. The alien queen stood there, not as the monster he had imagined, but as something almost human. Her skin shimmered with a faint violet light, her eyes golden like twin suns. She looked young, but her gaze carried centuries. "I should kill you," she said softly, stepping closer. "You came to murder me, did you not?" Daniel swallowed hard. That was the mission. "And yet you hesitate," she said, tilting her head. "Strange. Your kind usually do not hesitate." "I'm not like my kind," he said, his voice rough. For a long moment, they only stared at each other. The silence between them felt alive. The Queen's eyes searched his face as if trying to find something buried deep inside. "You are brave," she said finally. "Or foolish. Maybe both." Alindra's expression softened slightly. "I have seen thousands of soldiers, human and alien. All of them came to destroy. None of them looked at me the way you do." "And how is that?" "As if you see me," she said quietly. "Not the throne, not the war, just me." Daniel didn't know what to say. He should have been angry, defiant, afraid. But instead, he felt an odd calm, as if the galaxy outside didn't exist anymore. Then the Queen turned away. "You should rest, human. You will need strength. Tomorrow, I decide what to do with you." "Am I your prisoner?" he asked. She paused at the doorway. "For now." When she left, Daniel touched the glowing mark on his hand. It pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. He didn't know if it was a sign of life or a curse. But deep down, something told him this was only the beginning. Outside the palace, storms of blue lightning danced across the alien sky. The Empire prepared for war, unaware that its queen had met a man who might change everything. Her rule, her heart, and maybe the fate of two worlds. And somewhere deep inside that endless palace, as she stood by her window looking at the storm, Queen Alindra whispered to herself, "Why can I still feel him?" The wind howled, carrying her words into the dark. And so began the story of the alien queen and the human who defied her destiny. Daniel woke to a strange humming sound. The walls around him glowed softly, changing colors like breathing light. He sat up slowly, his body heavy but healed. The mark on his hand still burned faintly. It felt alive, as if it was watching him. He tried to remember everything. The mission, the bridge, his team, the queen. It all came back like broken images, flashes of light, her voice in his mind, her golden eyes. He stood and touched the wall. It rippled like water. He pushed, and it opened, revealing a long corridor filled with blue light. No guards. No doors. Only silence. "Where am I?" he muttered again, but this time the walls answered. A soft female voice spoke from nowhere. "You are within the inner palace of Zellara. Movement is restricted. Please return to your quarters." Daniel frowned. Not happening. He started walking. Every step echoed. The place felt endless, empty, and yet, alive. The architecture didn't look built, it looked grown, like a living creature shaped it from light and metal. He reached a large window and froze. Outside was the alien city, a world unlike anything human eyes had seen. Towers floated in the air, connected by glowing bridges. Rivers of blue energy flowed through the air like water. And far below, alien beings moved, tall, graceful, and glowing faintly like the queen herself. He whispered, "So this is the enemy." "Enemy," said a voice behind him. He turned fast, ready to fight. But it was her. The alien queen. She stood in a long silver robe, her hair flowing like dark silk, eyes bright and unreadable. She didn't bring guards. She didn't need them. Daniel tensed. "You should know, if you plan to kill me, do it fast." Alindra smiled faintly. "If I wanted you dead, Captain Reeve, you would not be standing." He hesitated. "Then why keep me alive?" "Because I want to understand you," she said simply. "No human soldier has ever reached my city alive. And yet you stand here, wounded, unbroken. Why?" Daniel looked out the window again. "Because giving up isn't something humans do easily." "That I have seen," she said softly, stepping closer. "You destroy, you conquer, and when all falls apart, you rise again. Such a persistence." He turned to face her. "And you? You rule half the galaxy. Why are you so interested in one soldier?" Her golden eyes locked on his. "Because when I touched your mind, I saw something strange." "What did you see?" "Pain," she said quietly. "But also hope. A fire that refuses to die." Her words made his chest tighten. "You read my mind?" "Only what you allowed me to see." She looked away. "Your people call us monsters. Perhaps you are not entirely wrong. We take what we need to survive. But your kind burns everything, even love, in the name of survival." "That's not fair," Daniel said. "We fight because we're trying to live. Same as you." "Then perhaps," she said, "we are not so different." Silence stretched between them. He saw something in her eyes, a shadow of loneliness, maybe even sorrow. For a moment, she looked less like a queen and more like a person trapped by her own crown. Then she turned, her tone shifting back to command. "You will not be harmed while you remain here. But do not try to escape. The mark on your hand binds you to this palace. If you go beyond the boundary, it will kill you." Daniel stared at the glowing symbol. You call that mercy? I call it protection, she said. For both of us. She started to walk away, then paused. There will be a council meeting soon. The ministers will want to know why I spared you. I suggest you prepare convincing answers. Convincing, he said dryly. You mean lies. Call them what you wish. She turned her head slightly, her voice almost teasing. But if you want to live, Captain, you will learn our way. When she left, the door sealed behind her with a whisper. Daniel stood alone again, looking at the strange city below. He could almost feel the eyes of the Empire on him, judging, waiting. He touched the mark again. It pulsed in time with his heartbeat. He didn't know what game the Queen was playing, but he could tell she wasn't like the stories. She was dangerous, yes, but also curious, conflicted, maybe even kind. That night, he couldn't sleep. The sound of alien energy hummed through the walls like a living pulse. And deep inside, he heard her voice, faint, like a dream. Why can't I stop thinking about you? He sat up, breath quick. He knew she was miles away, yet somehow he heard her clearly, as if her thoughts were inside him. He whispered back, though he didn't know why. Maybe because I can't stop thinking about you either. Outside, a storm was forming again, blue lightning flashing across the alien sky. The palace trembled as ships prepared for battle. War was coming. And in the middle of it all, a human soldier and an alien queen found themselves caught in something far more dangerous than war. Something neither of them understood yet. But both could feel it. Something beginning. The next morning, the palace awoke under a blood-red sky. Lightning flashed over the floating towers, and the sound of alien ships echoed like drums of war. Inside the throne hall, thousands of glowing orbs floated in the air, each showing the face of a council member from across the empire. Daniel stood at the center of it all, unarmed, surrounded by guards with eyes like cold glass. His human uniform looked torn and dirty among their shining armor. At the top of the hall, the alien queen sat on her throne, tall and calm, her expression unreadable. Her golden eyes watched him closely, but gave away nothing. The council's voices rose like a storm. This human is a threat, shouted one alien with skin like metal. He should be executed immediately, hissed another. His people have killed millions. Why keep such a creature alive? Alindra raised her hand, and silence fell. He is under my protection, she said. You will not harm him. One of the counselors leaned forward, his silver eyes glowing. Your Majesty, with respect, this human could be a spy. Keeping him alive is dangerous. Daniel spoke before he could stop himself. If I wanted to spy, I wouldn't have let myself get captured. Gasps filled the room. The guards stiffened. But the Queen only smiled faintly. You are bold, she said, her tone calm but sharp. Perhaps too bold. He shrugged slightly. You brought me here. Might as well talk. The Queen's golden gaze met his. Then tell us, Captain Daniel Reeve, why did humanity declare war on us? He hesitated. The truth wasn't simple. Because we were afraid, he said finally. Afraid of losing control. Afraid of what we didn't understand. We saw your empire growing and thought it meant the end of ours. A low murmur spread among the council. Some laughed. Some frowned. But Alindra's eyes softened, just a little. Fear, she said quietly. So much death, born from something so small. Daniel met her gaze. And you? Why fight us? She leaned forward slightly. Because your kind invaded first. You came with fire. We only answered. The hall went silent. The words hung between them like glass, sharp, fragile, and true. Then the oldest council member, a tall being with a glowing crest, spoke slowly. Your Majesty, emotions are clouding your judgment. You are too young to remember the First War. But we do. Humans cannot be trusted. Alindra's voice turned cold. You question my judgment? No. said the old one carefully. Only your heart. The queen stood, her aura flaring like golden fire. My heart is my strength. Her power filled the hall. Even Daniel felt it, a pressure that pushed against his chest, stealing his breath. The counselors bowed quickly. The moment passed, and Alindra sat down again, calm once more. She turned to Daniel. You will not be harmed, she said. But you will remain in the palace until I decide otherwise. The guards moved closer, ready to escort him away. But as Daniel turned to leave, he heard her voice, not aloud, but in his mind again. Do not lose hope. He glanced back. She wasn't looking at him, yet he knew the words were real. Their connection, whatever it was, had grown stronger. That night, Daniel was moved to a new room, larger, with a view of the alien city. The lights below pulsed like a living heart. He sat by the window, thinking of home, of Earth, of everything he'd lost. He thought of the Queen, too. The way she looked at him, the strange mix of power and sadness in her eyes. He didn't understand her, but part of him didn't want to. Suddenly, the door opened. A small alien figure entered. Not a soldier, but a servant, young and nervous, holding a tray of food that glowed faintly. The servant whispered, "She sent this. Said you might be hungry." Daniel smiled. "Thanks." The servant hesitated. "You are different. Most humans we see are angry. You are not." "I'm tired of being angry," Daniel said quietly. The servant nodded. "Maybe that is why she spared you." When the servant left, Daniel touched the mark on his hand again. It pulsed, once, twice, then flashed bright gold. Suddenly, he heard her voice clearly in his head. "Can you hear me, Daniel?" He looked around, startled. "Alindra." "Yes," her voice said softly. "You and I are connected now. The mark is not a curse. It is a bond." "A bond," he whispered. "Between us." "Yes. I did not plan it. But when I saved your life, the bond formed. Now our minds share fragments. Thoughts, emotions, dreams." Daniel's heart pounded. "You can read my mind?" "No. Not fully. Only when you feel something strong. Fear. Anger. Or," she hesitated, "something else." He felt warmth rise in his chest. "And what about you? Can I feel your emotions too?" A long silence. Then softly, "Sometimes." Lightning flashed outside. The entire palace shook slightly, as if the storm itself felt the tension between them. "I don't know what this is," Daniel said. "But it's dangerous." "Perhaps," she said. "Or perhaps it's fate." Her voice faded, leaving him alone again, with his heart racing and the mark on his hand glowing brighter than before. Outside, the red cloud shifted, revealing 2 moons over the alien capital. And for the first time since he'd arrived, Daniel didn't feel like a prisoner. He felt connected. Somewhere in her tower, the alien queen stood by her window, touching her own glowing mark, the same as his, and whispered into the storm. "What are you doing to me, human?" The wind carried no answer. Only silence, and the promise that their bond was just beginning to change everything. The storm over the alien capital had not stopped for 3 days. Blue lightning crawled across the clouds like living veins, and the palace hummed with hidden energy. Something in the air had changed, something restless. Daniel could feel it. Every night, the mark on his hand pulsed brighter, answering an invisible call. Sometimes he heard her voice in dreams, soft, distant, full of doubt. He didn't know if it was real or part of his mind breaking under pressure. That morning, the queen sent for him. He followed 2 guards through long, glowing corridors until they reached the war chamber. Strange holograms floated in the air, images of ships, planets, and red warning symbols. The queen stood at the center, surrounded by her commanders. Her golden eyes glowed brighter than usual. When she saw him, she dismissed the others with a single motion. The room emptied, leaving only the 2 of them. "You called me." Daniel said. Alindra nodded, her expression calm but tired. The council is preparing something against me, she said quietly. They believe I have become weak because I spared you. Daniel frowned. Are they wrong? Her lips curved slightly. You still enjoy provoking me. Only when it works, he said. For a moment, her serious mask broke, and a small laugh escaped her. It sounded like music, strange and soft. Then she grew serious again. You do not understand what you've done to my empire, Daniel. My people fear emotions. They see them as weakness. But since you came, I have started to feel things I thought I erased long ago. He stepped closer. Maybe that's not weakness, Alindra. Maybe that's what makes you different. Her eyes flickered. Different rulers die young. Silence stretched between them. The storm outside roared, shaking the windows. Then Daniel asked, "What will the council do?" "They are planning a trial," she said. "They want to question me before the great assembly. If they find me unfit to rule, they will replace me." "With who?" "My cousin, Lord Varen," she said bitterly. "A man who believes war is the only answer." Daniel clenched his fists. "If he takes power, your species will burn," she finished. They both stood still, realizing how fragile the situation had become. Then the Queen looked at him, her voice softer now. "I could end this bond between us. I could erase you from my mind. But I do not want to." Daniel felt his heartbeat quicken. "Why?" She stepped closer until she was only a few feet away. "Because when you are near, I remember who I used to be before the throne. I remember what it means to feel alive." He didn't move. The air between them felt heavy, charged. "And what happens if your people find out what you feel?" Her golden eyes locked on his. "Then I will lose everything." A long moment passed. Neither spoke. Outside, thunder rolled across the alien sky. Then, suddenly, the door burst open. A guard rushed in, dropping to one knee. "Your Majesty, Lord Varen demands an immediate audience. He says it concerns the human." Alindra's face turned to ice. "Tell him I will speak with him shortly." But before the guard could leave, another figure appeared behind him. Tall, armored, with eyes like molten silver. "Too late for that, cousin," said Lord Varen. Daniel instantly felt danger. The man radiated power and arrogance. His armor was black, lined with blue light, and in his hand he carried a spear that hummed with energy. "So this is the human who makes our queen forget her duty," Varen said coldly, circling Daniel like a predator. "I can smell your fear, little soldier." Daniel met his gaze without flinching. "You're smelling your own perfume." Varen's eyes flashed with anger. The tip of his spear glowed. "You dare speak to me? Enough." Alindra's voice thundered through the chamber. The walls shook. "You will not harm him." Varen turned slowly toward her. "You protect a human, Alindra. The council whispers that you are compromised. I came to give you a chance to prove them wrong." "And how would I do that?" "Kill him," Varen said simply. "Right here. Now. Show us your loyalty." The room fell silent. The Queen's expression didn't move, but Daniel saw something flicker in her eyes. Pain. Conflict. Varen smirked. "Do it, cousin. Or the council will do it for you." Daniel took a step forward. "Don't. You don't have to prove anything to him." But Alindra's power flared again. The mark on Daniel's hand burned hot. He could feel her emotions through the bond, fear, anger, and something else, sorrow. Then, through the connection, he heard her voice inside his head. "Trust me, Daniel. Whatever happens next, do not resist." Before he could react, she raised her hand. A golden light burst from her palm and struck him in the chest. Pain exploded through his body, and the world went white. When his vision returned, he was lying on the cold floor. His body felt paralyzed. He couldn't move or speak. The queen looked down at him, her face blank. To everyone watching, it looked like she had killed him. Varen smiled coldly. Good. Maybe there's hope for you yet. Alindra said nothing. Remove the body, she ordered. And leave me. When the room emptied, she knelt beside Daniel's still body. Her hand trembled slightly as she whispered, "Forgive me." The mark on his hand flickered faintly, still alive. She had not killed him. Only put him into a deep stasis, a false death. Tears glimmered in her golden eyes as she whispered, "I had to protect you." Outside, the storm finally broke, rain falling across the alien city. But inside the palace, one secret act had just changed the course of two empires. And far away, in the shadows of the council chamber, Lord Varen watched through hidden eyes, and smiled. He knew the truth. And he planned to use it. Darkness. That was all Daniel felt. Heavy, endless darkness pressing against his mind. Then, a heartbeat. Slow. Faint. Then, another. He opened his eyes with a sharp gasp. His lungs burned as air filled them again. The room around him was dim, cold, and quiet, not the golden palace he remembered. He sat up quickly, dizzy and weak. His body ached all over. The mark on his hand glowed faintly in the shadows, pulsing like it was alive. Where am I?" he whispered. A voice answered from the corner. "You are safe. For now." Daniel turned, and saw a figure step out of the darkness. It was the young alien servant who had brought him food days ago. Her name, he remembered, was Saren. "What happened?" Daniel asked. "Last thing I remember, the queen." "She saved you," Saren said softly. "But she had to make it look like you were dead. Lord Varen was watching. The council wanted proof of your death." Daniel clenched his fists. "So she hit me with that light?" "Yes," Saren nodded. "A stasis pulse. It stops the heart for a short time. To others, it looks like death. But you live." Daniel exhaled slowly, his chest tight. "Where is she now?" Saren hesitated. "She faces the council. They are accusing her of treason." "What?" Daniel stood, though his legs trembled. "Because of me?" Saren looked down. "Because of what she feels." He fell silent. He already knew what that meant. The bond between them, the strange link that let them hear each other's thoughts, wasn't just a secret anymore. It was a weapon her enemies could use. "She risked everything," he whispered. "Yes," Saren said. "And now, she stands alone." Daniel looked around the small room, an old storage chamber hidden beneath the palace. The walls were cracked, the lights dim. "I can't stay here," he said. "I have to help her." "You cannot," Saren said quickly. "The palace is locked down. Guards everywhere. If you are seen alive, they will kill you both." He ran a hand through his hair. "There has to be a way." Saren hesitated, then reached into her cloak and pulled out a small crystal disc. "This is a mirror stone. It connects to the queen's mind through the same bond you share. You can speak to her, but only once. It will burn out after one use." Daniel took it carefully. "Thank you." Saren's eyes softened. "She believed you would find a way to survive. Do not prove her wrong." He nodded, then placed the crystal in his palm. The mark on his hand flared, and light filled the room. When the light faded, Daniel saw her, not in person, but through the connection. Alindra stood in her throne room, surrounded by the council. Her golden armor was gone, replaced by a plain white robe. Her eyes looked tired but unbroken. "Alindra," Daniel whispered. Her head lifted slightly, as if she heard him. "Daniel, you're alive." "I'm safe," he said quickly. "Saren helped me. But they're going to." "I know," she said softly. "The council has called for my removal. They say I am no longer fit to rule. You can't just let them." "I won't," she interrupted, her voice calm. But I cannot fight them with strength alone. I must show them something greater. Something they cannot destroy. Daniel frowned. What are you talking about? Tomorrow, she said, I will stand before the great assembly. I will tell them the truth, about the war, about the lies, and about you. He shook his head. If you do that, they'll kill you. She smiled sadly. Maybe. But if I stay silent, they will kill us all. For a long moment, neither spoke. Their connection hummed quietly, two hearts beating across distance and danger. Alindra, he said finally, if I could be there. She reached out, her fingers brushing invisible air. You already are. The light flickered. The image faded. The mirror stone cracked and went dark. Daniel stood alone again, his chest tight, his mind spinning. He couldn't let her face this alone. He looked at Saren. How do I get into the great assembly? She shook her head quickly. Impossible. It's guarded by every warrior in the city. Then I'll find another way. He moved toward the door, determination in his eyes. For the first time since his capture, he didn't feel like a prisoner. He felt like a soldier again, with something worth fighting for. Above them, in the shining heart of the palace, the queen stood before the council, her golden eyes burning like stars. Lord Varen smiled coldly from his seat. You have lost your power, Alindra. Admit your weakness. Step down. But the queen did not bow. She looked up, straight into the eyes of her enemies, and said, I will not step down. I will show you what true strength looks like. The council chamber filled with murmurs. The storm outside rumbled, as if the sky itself was listening. And far below, Daniel was already moving, through secret tunnels and forgotten halls, toward the one person who had changed his heart and his destiny. He didn't know what waited ahead. But one thing was clear. He would reach her, no matter what it cost. The great assembly hall stood like a mountain of light above the alien capital, vast, ancient, and filled with power. Thousands of glowing beings gathered inside, their eyes shining like stars. It was the heart of the empire, where rulers were judged and fates decided. At the center stood Queen Alindra, alone. Her robe shimmered softly in the light, but her face was calm, too calm, like a storm before it breaks. Before her sat the council of elders, with Lord Varen at their head. His silver eyes glowed with cruel satisfaction. Around them, guards lined the walls, armed and ready. The storm outside raged, blue lightning flashing across the glass ceiling. Lord Varen rose. We stand here to judge our queen, he declared. She has broken our sacred law. She has bonded with an enemy, a human. Her mind is no longer her own. Her heart is corrupted. She is unfit to rule. The crowd murmured in shock. Alindra's eyes remained fixed on him. You call it corruption, she said quietly. I call it understanding. Understanding. Varen laughed. With a creature who destroyed our colonies? Who brought death to our skies? Do not speak of peace, cousin. You have brought shame to our people. I have brought hope, she said. Her voice carried through the hall like a whisper and a roar at once. You fight endless wars, blinded by pride. But I have seen the other side, their pain, their fear, their humanity. We are not so different. Gasps spread through the chamber. Some looked angry, others uncertain. Varen smiled coldly. You see, my brothers and sisters? She speaks treason openly. She defends the enemy. He lifted his spear. By law, she must be removed from the throne and executed before the sun set. The guards stepped forward. Alindra did not move. But deep inside the palace, beneath the city's heart, another storm was rising. Daniel moved fast through dark tunnels, guided only by flickering lights and his instincts. Saren's directions had brought him this far, but the rest he had to figure out himself. Every step hurt, his body still weak from the stasis, but the mark on his hand glowed brighter with each passing moment. He could feel her. He knew she was in danger. When he reached the end of the tunnel, a huge metal door blocked his path. Alien symbols shimmered on its surface. He touched the mark to the door, and suddenly, it opened. The bond between them had unlocked it. Light blinded him for a moment, and then he was inside the great assembly. Thousands of alien eyes turned toward him in shock. Alindra's head snapped up. Her breath caught when she saw him standing there, alive. "Daniel," she whispered. Varen froze in disbelief. "Impossible. You were dead." Daniel stepped forward, his voice steady. "You should know by now, Varen, humans don't die easy." The hall erupted into chaos. Guards rushed toward him, but the mark on his hand flared gold. A wave of energy exploded outward, throwing them back. The same mark glowed on the Queen's hand, both pulsing in perfect rhythm. Varen shouted, "Seize them!" Alindra lifted her hand. "No." Her power ignited, swirling with Daniel's energy. For the first time, their bond became visible, a stream of golden light connecting them across the hall. The crowd gasped as the air trembled, the walls shaking with raw force. "You see," Varen shouted. "She is infected. That creature controls her." But the Queen's voice thundered above the noise. "No one controls me." Her eyes burned bright gold, her aura blazing like fire. "This bond is not weakness, it is truth. For the first time, I can see through your lies, Varen. You speak of purity while you hide behind fear." Varen snarled, raising his spear. "Then you will die with your pet." He lunged forward, but before the strike landed, Daniel moved, fast, reckless. He grabbed a fallen guard's weapon and blocked the blow. The two clashed in a burst of light. The alien spear struck the human blade, sending sparks flying. "You shouldn't have come," Alindra shouted, her voice breaking. Daniel grinned, breathlessly. "You knew I would." Varen roared and swung again, but Alindra joined the fight. Her power burst outward, freezing his weapon midair. The energy around them twisted, wild and alive, fueled by their connection. "You can't fight the bond," Daniel said through gritted teeth. Varen struggled, veins glowing with fury. "Then you both will burn." He slammed his hand to the ground, triggering a surge of blue lightning that shot through the hall. The walls cracked, the ceiling split. The crowd screamed and fled. Alindra turned to Daniel, her eyes wide. "We have to stop him, or he'll destroy the city." Together, they focused their power, golden light from her, human strength from him. The bond between them blazed brighter than ever, a single line of light cutting through the chaos. Varen screamed as their combined energy struck him. The blast sent him crashing into the wall, his armor shattered, his weapon broken. The room fell silent. Only the sound of thunder echoed in the distance. Daniel stood, breathing hard. Alindra stepped closer, her hand trembling as it touched his face. "You shouldn't have risked it all for me." He smiled faintly. "You risked everything first." Around them, the remaining council members watched in awe, their queen standing beside the human they had condemned. The golden light faded slowly, leaving a soft glow around them. Alindra turned to the council. "You call me weak for loving a human. But it is this love that saved you. Remember that before you judge." No one spoke. Outside, the storm began to fade. The clouds broke, revealing the twin suns rising over the alien city. For the first time in centuries, light touched the palace walls without war. Daniel looked at the queen. "What happens now?" She looked back at him, a faint smile on her lips. "Now, we face whatever comes next, together." And somewhere deep inside the universe, where stars are born and empires fall, a new story began, of two hearts from different worlds, bound by a light that refused to die. The twin suns rose slowly over the alien capital, painting the crystal towers in gold and violet. The storm had passed, but the city still trembled, walls cracked, streets smoldering from the last battle. Daniel and Alindra stood together on a balcony high above the city. The wind whipped their hair, but neither moved. The bond between them pulsed faintly, soft, steady, like a heartbeat. "Is it really over?" Daniel asked, his voice quiet. Alindra looked at the horizon. "For now. Lord Varen is gone, imprisoned by the council. The others are too afraid to challenge me after seeing what we can do together." Daniel's eyes softened. "You risked everything, for me. For us." She shook her head. "No. I risked everything for the Empire. For peace. And somehow, you became part of it." He smiled faintly. "Funny, how one human can change the mind of an alien queen." Her golden eyes sparkled, but behind them lay something deeper. Pain, hope, and love tangled together. "Not just one human," she said softly. "One human soldier who refuses to give up, even when everything seems impossible." Daniel reached out and took her hand. The glow from their marks flared slightly, stronger than ever. "Then I won't give up on you, either." They stood like that for a moment, the silence between them heavy with unspoken promises. The city below began to stir as survivors emerged, looking at the palace and the queen who had saved them. Inside, the council convened. Some bowed to her. Others whispered in fear. But all had witnessed the bond, the power and trust between a human and the ruler of the empire. Change was coming, whether they wanted it or not. Suddenly, a messenger arrived with urgent news. "Your Majesty." Strange energy readings from the outer colonies. Something unnatural. Alindra frowned. Could it be survivors of the human fleets? Daniel shook his head. "I doubt it. The fleets are scattered." "What kind of energy?" The messenger hesitated. "It's the same as the bond between you and the human." Alindra's eyes widened. "Then someone else is connected to us." Daniel's heart skipped. "Someone else?" "Yes," she said grimly. "And if they found the bond first, it could destroy everything we fought for." A moment of silence passed. The twin suns rose higher, bathing the city in warmth. But beneath the light, an unknown danger waited, another player in the universe, drawn to their bond. Daniel tightened his grip on her hand. "Whatever it is, we face it together. Like we did today." Alindra nodded. "Together." For the first time in centuries, the queen smiled freely. And for the first time in his life, Daniel felt he belonged somewhere. Not just as a soldier, but as someone who mattered, someone who had changed the course of an empire. Days turned into weeks. Peace slowly returned. The people of the empire rebuilt their cities, learning to trust a ruler who had loved a human openly. And Daniel stayed by her side, teaching her about Earth, about humanity, and about courage that wasn't born from power, but from heart. At night, they walked the palace gardens, golden light spilling over the crystalline flowers. Their bond pulsed softly, not with war or fear, but with trust and love. "You think we'll ever stop being different?" Daniel asked. She laughed softly. "I hope not. Difference is what brought us here. It is what makes us strong." They paused by a fountain, water glowing faintly blue, reflecting the stars above. Alindra touched his face gently. "I've ruled for centuries," she said. "I've made countless decisions for the empire. But nothing has been as important as this moment." Daniel smiled. "Neither has mine." And somewhere in the distant cosmos, other worlds watched. Some in awe, some in fear. But the legend of the alien queen and the human soldier had begun, a story of courage, love, and hope that would echo across galaxies for generations. The stars above burned bright, but beneath their glow, two hearts, one human, one alien, beat as one. And together, they had changed everything.